Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup, the show where we round up all, and I do mean all, of the latest news of the past week of nerdy movies. And we're here every Saturday at 8 o'clock. That's the time. We're sticking to it. We are actually sticking to it so hard right now. Cover my body in glue and do something kinky because we are sticking to it, okay? Let's get into the stories, why don't we? So first off, we have a trailer for Blue Beetle. This is the final trailer. It's the second one, and I think that this movie doesn't look great. It looks fine. I think there are moments in it that I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, I think the suit looks great. I think the CGI honestly doesn't look too bad. And but then I think there are just a lot of cheesy moments where it's like, oh, we're family, or my familia is together and whatnot, because we're Mexican. And there's like the bit at the end when Nana fucking pulls out a gun and starts shooting, and it's like this is a little cringe. Looks a little Spy Kids at times, but I don't know. I could see this being a fun movie. It's bombing at the box office. I mean, it is. This is going to be one of the biggest bombs. It might make less than Shazam too. um, or I don't know. Maybe it'll be good and it'll have legs. Who really knows at the end of the day? I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm an idiot. But yeah, let me know what you think about the trailer in the comments down below. All right. Next up, we also have a trailer for Ahsoka. I didn't watch this trailer because I'm still trying to catch up on Star Wars Rebels. So I don't have anything to say about it. When does this stupid show come out? August 3rd. August 23rd. Okay, I mean I have like a month and a half to watch this thing or watch Rebels. So I'll get on that, but yeah, I didn't watch this trailer cuz I haven't seen Rebels. So, let's move on to the first news story of the day. Kit Harington discusses Black Knight and Blade. Would you look at that? So we'll start reading here. Okay, we'll start reading here actually. Game of Thrones and Eternal star Kit Harington has offered an update on Dane Whitman's future in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and whether fans can expect to see him as the Black Knight. I think that's the intention with the character. It's my British accent. Harrington offered while I think he's British, right? While on stage at San Antonio's Superhero Comic Con at a car show with his Game of Thrones co-star and Secret Invasion star Emilia Clarke. I think there was some misunderstanding about whether he was going to be in the Blade movie. He was never meant to be in the Blade movie and isn't. So I think a lot of us were expecting like the Black Knight to show up in Blade because at the end of Eternals, there's the post-credit scene where Kit Harington like opens up a suitcase and there's like a fire sword in there, and then you hear somebody's voice being like, "Dane Whitman, I see you." I don't remember the exact quote, but because I'm a racist, I thought that it was Samuel L. Jackson and it was Nick Fury. Turns out it was actually the guy who's playing Blade. Don't remember his name, but the guy who's playing Blade, it was that actor. So Blade, he's like interacting with Blade in the post-credit scene. So a lot of us thought he was going to be hanging out with Blade in his movie, but I guess that's not the case. So I figured I would take a look here at all of the MCU upcoming projects and see if we can suss out where will Black Knight show up. So here are options. So we have coming up the Marvels. I don't know that he would show up there because that's I don't know what connection he would have with them. The only reason why he would show up there is because Cersei is like he's out in space or she's out in space because she was taken by one of the Celestials. So maybe he goes to space to find her and he shows up in the Marvels. I don't know. It's about that's all I've got. Then there's Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3 is like a big multiverse movie, so there are most likely going to be a bunch of random characters that are going to show up in this, but at the end of the day, I do think that most of the cameos here are going to be like Fox X-Men characters and like Daredevil and whatnot. Ben Affleck Daredevil, I should clarify. I feel like those are the kind of cameos. At least that's what it seems like. So I don't know that Black Knight will show up in Deadpool 3. Then we have Captain America: Brave New World. From what we've heard, this movie is supposed to be a bit more grounded. So I don't know if a guy with a flame sword would necessarily fit in here. So I doubt it for this one as well. Then we have Thunderbolts. The only connection is that the current like rumored plot of Thunderbolts is that the Thunderbolts are going to be like sent to the celestial head that's sticking up out of the earth, and that's where they're going to find adamantium or something like that. The celestial head that started sticking out before the Eternals stopped it. That's literally the only connection. So I guess that one's a maybe, but not a very strong maybe. Then obviously he's said that he's not showing up in Blade. Don't see any connection with Fantastic Four, so I don't know. When it comes to the Avengers movies, he's almost certainly going to be in at least one of the Avengers movies, only because everybody's going to be in one of the Avengers movies. So I guess, that could very well be what he's talking about. And then Armor Wars, I don't see any connection to Dane Whitman or whatever. You have Spider-Man 4. Don't see any connection between him and Spider-Man. Then we have the untitled Shang-Chi sequel. I don't. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know of any connection, but that doesn't seem like a wild thing for me. But we also do have MCU Disney Plus shows, so let's look through these. Where are they at? All right, so could he show up in the next 2 episodes of Secret Invasion? Probably not. We have Loki. Loki is a bit of a multiversal show, but at the same time, there really weren't any cameos in the first season of Loki. So my guess is no, because Loki isn't necessarily a cameo show, even though it does deal with the multiverse. Then we have Echo. I don't see any connection between him and Echo. We have Ironheart. The only reason why maybe he would show up in that is because, from what I understand, Ironheart is going to be a show about like technology versus magic. So I could see his like magic fire sword, maybe him showing up in Ironheart because of that. But beyond that, I don't see any connection. Agatha Coven of Chaos. I don't know. She's a magic character. He has a magic fire sword. Beyond that, no connection. So probably not. Daredevil Born Again. I'm assuming Daredevil is going to be a more grounded show, so my guess is no. What If, honestly, one of the seasons of What If, I could see him showing up in that, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to count. As far as when we're talking about like him coming back. Oops. And then we have like for future series that are kind of vague. So I remember they did announce there's a Wakanda series, but we've heard nothing about it. But I doubt Dane Whitman would show up in one of those. Spider-Man Freshman Year. That's like a non-canonical show anyways that's coming out. But I doubt that he would show up in freshman year or sophomore years. I believe those are the 2 seasons. I don't see him showing up in any of these. But again, these are like animated series. Marvel Zombies. So yeah, this is a spin-off that I believe is set in the universe of the zombie episode of What If, Marvel Zombies. So I could totally see him showing up in this, but doesn't really count, I don't think, as far as MCU proper. Then we have Wonder Man. I don't know anything about Wonder Man really, so I don't think he would show up in that, but I don't know. I honestly don't know enough about it. There's the Nova show. Again, because I'm assuming Dane Whitman is going to end up in space at some point to find Cersei. Again, this is assuming that the Nova series would even take place in space, but I don't know. There's no good connection. Season 3 of What If, we already talked about What If. Vision Quest, we don't really know anything about Vision Quest anyways, but at the same time, would Dane Whitman ever interact with Vision? Probably not. So I guess going through all these projects, I think the clear thing is that we don't know enough about the future of the MCU to really be able to say when or where Dane Whitman would show up. But that was fun to get a refresher on all of the MCU projects anyways. All right, next story. we have a picture of Deadpool and Wolverine in Deadpool 3. Hubert Jackman is in the classic yellow and blue costume, like a lot of people have been asking for. I've seen some people complain because he has sleeves on. I guess in the classic Wolverine costume, he doesn't have sleeves. Honestly, it's not something I ever paid attention to. Um, but apparently, the reasoning for that is because Hugh Jackman is susceptible to skin cancer or something like that. So obviously, Hugh Jackman's health is more important than a comic accurate costume. I think we can all agree on that. Can we? Hopefully. Yeah, I don't know. It looks cool. I've never been too invested in him wearing the classic suit. I tend to not care about costumes that much, anyways. But I don't know. I think it looks cool. All right. Next story. Apparently, we're going to get Vigilante before Peacemaker Season 2. So we'll start reading here. DC Studios co-CEO James Gunn confirmed on Threads that Adrian Chase, aka Vigilante, will be back for more action earlier than expected, probably before Peacemaker Season 2, Gunn wrote after being asked when fans will see the character again. Played by Freddie Stroma in the hit Max series. I'm still getting used to Max. One day I'll read it and not laugh. Vigilante quickly became one of the show's most popular faces due to his eccentric friendship with Peacemaker and his shockingly efficient combat methods. So I figured we'd do the same thing with the Black Knight and just look through the DCU shows to see if where he might show up. I guess I should mention technically Piece of Vigilante could show up in Blue Beetle or Aquaman. I doubt he would show up in any of those, but I should be reiterated that that is a possibility. Because if you remember, like Harcourt, she showed up in Black Adam, so Peacemaker characters were being utilized before the DCU. All right, Superman Legacy. I doubt it. I mean, we're going to get to some Superman Legacy castings. That means that kind of indicate that there are going to be quite a bit of other characters in Superman Legacy, but even still, I feel like Vigilante is just too much of a ground level character. I don't see him showing up in Superman Legacy. Then we have the Authority. While I don't know too much about the Authority, again, I feel like Vigilante is too much of a ground level character for even those guys, because I think those guys are like super powered. So not knowing anything about the Authority, I don't think we'll see Vigilante in this. Although it should be noted that I think this movie is probably going to be a bit more harder edge, so sort of that R-rated Peacemaker vibe could work with the Authority. But so, should throw that out there. Then we have The Brave and the Bold. This is a Batman movie. While I don't see Vigilante like fighting alongside Batman or anything like that. I could see like, I don't know, maybe Vigilante is doing he's up to no good and Batman just beats him up. But even still, I don't know that I see Vigilante being in a Batman movie. Probably not. Then we have Supergirl, Women of Tomorrow. From what I understand, this show is going to take, or movie, sorry. This movie is going to take place primarily in space, so I don't know how much of a chance it would even be possible for Vigilante to show up. You know what I mean? So probably not. Swamp Thing, probably not. I think this is going to have a bit more of a horror edge to it, so I don't know if a character like Vigilante fits into sort of this more serious horror movie. Then we have Creature Commandos. So I'm a little confused as far as whether or not Creature Commandos is going to take place in World War II like the comics, or if it's going to take place in modern day. But I mean, Creature Commandos is it is a show that's written entirely by James Gunn. So I guess it's possible he could show up in this, but I don't think it's necessarily likely, just because what would Vigilante be doing with Frankenstein's monster? I don't know. Then we have Waller. I think it's most likely going to be Waller. Waller is very much like being sort of marketed as a Peacemaker spinoff, or I guess the Suicide Squad spinoff. And I think it makes sense that after Vigilante working with Team Peacemaker, that Waller would take note of him and maybe want to use him at some point. So I totally could. I think it is going to be Waller that Vigilante shows up in. Then we have Lanterns. I doubt it. Again, I don't know that Vigilante would cross paths with the Green Lanterns. I don't know about that. Um, Paradise Lost. Again, I think this. I'm pretty sure this is definitively a prequel. So, I don't think there's any chance of Peacemaker or not Peacemaker. Well, Peacemaker too, but Vigilante showing up in this. We have Booster Gold. Okay, that's interesting because I definitely think that Vigilante would be a good character to pair up with Booster Gold because I think they would probably play well off of each other. But would Vigilante ever interact with Booster Gold realistically? I don't think so. I don't think so. So yeah, unlike Black Knight, I'm like 90% sure that it's gonna be Waller that he shows up in. But let me know what you think. All right, next story. Doom Patrol. The rest of the series will be released, apparently. That was the thing that people were worried about. Writing on Threads, Gunn acknowledged that while he's currently wrapped up in Creature Commandos and Superman Legacy, the first two installments in his rebooted DC universe, he was able to confirm the fate of the popular Doom Patrol series. I now have confirmation. As I surmised, no. Doom Patrol episodes are absolutely not being shelved, even though the premiere date for the next shows hasn't been announced to the public. So that's good. I mean, I haven't caught up with Doom Patrol. I really should because it's a fantastic show. But yeah, I guess apparently season 4, like half of season 4, released and as volume 1, and I guess we're not sure when volume 2 is going to be released. But James Gunn is saying that they're coming out, so hopefully that comes out, and hopefully this show can end in like a satisfying way, and it's not like a case where James Gunn is in the building, got to cancel everything. Hopefully that doesn't happen. All right, next story. Speaking of shows coming back, My Adventures with Superman Season 2 is in development. So, there's a tweet, I think, right? Yeah, so this is a producer, Jake Wyatt, and somebody asked him, is it safe to say we'll have a second season? And he said, yep, they ordered 2. So, there are 2 seasons of My Adventures with Superman already ordered, and I have to say, I am absolutely loving the show. I've never really consumed like a classic piece of Superman media. It's like my Superman experience is with Smallville and only like the first couple of seasons. So I don't think I ever got to the point where that version of Clark met Lois Lane. And then I watched the DCEU Superman, which I'm not even trying to crap on it, but I mean, Snyder killed off Jimmy Olsen, and it's a lot more darker, and Henry Cavill had like zero chemistry with Amy Adams. So I'm not even saying that I dislike Man of Steel or anything, but it's very much not sort of that classic Superman that everybody talks about. Then I also watched Superman and Lois, and while I really like the show, it's not the classic Superman. It's like, hey, what if Superman was older and he's raising 2 kids and whatever? And so I'm just saying that like this show is my first experience with a traditional Superman, and I love it. It's like I feel like I finally understand why people like Superman. So there's that. What? Stop. Okay. All right. Next story. A Black Panther game is in development at EA. So I guess we'll read a lot of this because I think there's some interesting stuff here. As previously reported, the studio was formed in 2021 and is led by Kevin Stevens, who was boss of Warner's Monolith during development of Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor and Middle-earth: Shadow of War. Never played those games, but I think they're pretty well received. I think the main problem with the second one, Shadow of War, was that they added like microtransaction stuff, if I remember correctly. Could be totally wrong about that. In addition to leaders from those games, Cliffhanger's team includes veterans of franchises including Halo, God of War, and Call of Duty, according to EA. So it says here, the original, which I think to me indicates that it's probably like in its own universe, the original third-person, single-player, I'd like that. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Yes. Black Panther game is being developed in collaboration with Marvel Games. So, yeah, listen, I know people sort of would have liked for like the Avengers to work out and to have sort of a good like co-op Marvel game, but that's not even something that I'm really into. It's like I like to play games by myself. Let me play alone. And Sure, you could play Avengers by yourself, but it was very clear that it was made for multiple players in mind. That's how the levels were designed, and so the single player experience just wasn't satisfying. But anyways, reading on, we want our game to enable players to feel what it's like to be worthy of the Black Panther mantle in unique story-driven ways, and we want cliffhanger games to empower everyone on our team as we collaborate to bring this amazing world to life. We're still early in development with a long road ahead. But we know the foundation to any great story is to build an experienced team with diverse voices and perspectives, and that's what we want to build, especially with a superhero as important as Black Panther. And yeah, this is the interesting part down here. We're dedicated to delivering fans a definitive and authentic Black Panther experience, giving them more agency and control over their narrative than they have ever experienced in a story-driven video game. What does that mean? So, like, what I'm taking from that is that you're going to be able to make, like, choices, but they're claiming that you're going to have more agency than any other single-player game? Or than ever before in a story-driven video game. That is that's a very big statement to make. Like, I'm very curious to know what about this game like indicates that. I don't know. So I don't know. I'm curious about this. I think that Black Panther could potentially be like a good story-driven game because I'm trying to remember. If you're the Black Panther, do you have to be the king of Wakanda? Do those go hand in hand? Because it would be cool, I guess, to play as Black Panther and have to make like decisions about your kingdom or whatever, and get into like the political aspects of what that means. So I think that could be cool. So yeah, we'll see exactly what they mean when they say that it's the most control you've ever had over a narrative. That's a wild claim. But yeah, we'll have to see. All right, next story. We got some Superman Legacy casting. So we have Nathan Fillion or I guess I'll just read this paragraph here. According to Vanity Fair, the actor, I guess I'll start reading up here then. Nathan Fillion will finally get the chance to portray Green Lantern in live action in James Gunn's upcoming film, Superman Legacy. According to Vanity Fair, the actor will play the Guy Gardner iteration of Green Lantern, who is known for his iconic bowl cut haircut, which Fillion will reportedly sport in the film. Isabella Merced and Eddie Gathegi have also joined the cast of Legacy as fan favorite DC heroes Hawkgirl and Mr. Terrific, respectively. And then we also have one other casting that came out after these. So I'll just pull this up here as well. Anthony Kerrigan. He's going to be playing Metamorpho. So yeah, so I guess here's the interesting part about all this. I guess I'll talk about the actors. So I like Anthony Kerrigan. Sorry, my camera might be covering him. Here he is. So he's this guy. I don't know too much about Isabella Merced. But I like Nathan Fillion and Eddie Gathegi. So, I'm fine with these actors. But me personally, I don't have much experience with any of these characters. So I don't have super strong opinions about that part, about whether or not they should be playing these characters. That being said, I think the more interesting thing to talk about is what does this mean for Superman Legacy just in general? And what it means is that the DCU is definitively going to start as an already established universe, right? There are already superheroes out there. I think we've already known that this isn't an origin story, so Superman will already have been Superman. And I think that this is a pretty interesting place to take Superman because, most other Superman movies, from what I understand, the only Superman movie I've ever watched is Man of Steel, but I don't think I'm wrong in saying that. All the other Superman movies have been, what is it like to be this god amongst men? I actually like the idea of of sort of doing the inverse of that and being like, how does Superman deal with being sort of the alpha dog, but how does Superman grapple with other heroes in his world, and in this like morally gray world, how does he deal with other superheroes and different ideologies? Because I'm assuming that's going to be a big part of this movie, and I think that's interesting. I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting. Although James Gunn has also kind of said, actually, do I have that quote pulled up here? I think I might. I don't actually, but James Gunn also had another quote where he mentioned that the movie was also going to be about like the dichotomy between Clark Kent, or like Superman as Clark Kent, and how he balances his life as Superman, right? And how both of these are jobs, and Clark Kent has his coworkers like Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen, and Superman has his coworkers like Metamorpho and Hot Girl and Mr. Terrific and all of that. I think it's an interesting place to take the character. I think it's different and unique from anything that we've seen before. So I think James Gunn is cooking here. I've seen the complaints of people being like, that's the movie's overstuffed. Too many characters. And it's like people's minds have been just so warped by bad comic book movies. Like, guys, the problem with Spider-Man 3 was not that there were too many villains. The problem with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is not that there were too many villains. The problem with Batman v Superman is not that there were too many characters, right? It's not that they didn't all get origin stories or whatever. It's just that those movies weren't executed as well as they should have been, right? Like, just take Guardians of the Galaxy, for example. You didn't need a Star-Lord solo movie, or a Gamora solo movie, or a Rocket Raccoon solo movie, or a Groot solo movie, or a Drax solo movie before they made the Guardians of the Galaxy. You can't just start off Superman in an established world and have him interact with other heroes. Like, that is a valid way to do Superman. To do a Superman movie, at least in my opinion, right? But I'm just saying, like, we're going to watch Oppenheimer next week. There are a bunch of other characters in that movie. You didn't need a solo movie for... I'm not going to pretend to know any of the names of any of the characters in Oppenheimer, right? But you didn't need solo movies for all of them before Nolan made Oppenheimer. That's all I'm saying, right? Movies have had characters since forever and all time. I don't understand why people are so weird about other superheroes being side characters in a movie. But anyways, we shall move on. Let me actually sorry, I gotta reset my camera. Not cutting this out. Keeping this in. I don't want to do any editing. All right, moving on to the next story. So, sticking with James Gunn, he teased a Star-Lord solo movie. So, we'll read the paragraph here. In commentary included with the digital release of Guardians 3, Gunn delved into the plot of the potential standalone cinematic outing for Peter Quill. We always want to give somebody a little something special, Gunn said, and Chris and I, forever, have talked about how great it would be to be able to do a legendary Star-Lord movie. A story with Star-Lord on Earth trying to adapt to the environment of Earth in the same way that somebody else might try to adapt to the alien environment of outer space. He's a fish out of water in just kind of regular water. So I can't wait to see it. So it's what he says at the end there. He says, so I can't wait to see it. That kind of indicates to me, at least, that we are going to see it at some point. And I mean, spoiler alert for the end of Guardians 3, it does end with the white text on a black screen that says the legendary Star-Lord will return. So, I mean, that could very well just mean that we're going to see Star-Lord back in like an Avengers movie or whatever. But I do think that could now mean that we're going to get like a solo Star-Lord movie, right? You can do the solo Star-Lord movie after Guardians of the Galaxy as well. That is a thing that you can do. But yeah, I would definitely be interested in this. I'd like to see a movie about Peter Quill adapting to Earth. I think there is a story to tell there. Yeah, I think this could be cool. So we'll see if it actually happens. My guess is it probably will be, just based off of how James Gunn worded that. But I guess I also wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't end up happening, and and Chris Pratt just pops up in an Avengers movie. That is totally possible. All right, let's get into something serious here. So, as of recording this video, SAG-AFTRA as well as the WGA, both of them are striking at the same time. So, we've already talked about the writer strike. Let's get into why the actors are striking now. Let's see. Where is it in this article? Okay, I guess we'll start reading here, right? Okay, well, I guess we'll start reading here. 2 days later, SAG-AFTRA entered negotiations on its agreement with the AMPTP, which is the Producers Guild, including Amazon, Apple, NBC, Disney, Netflix, Paramount, and Warner Brothers. On June 30th, the contracts between the two were extended, expiring at midnight on Wednesday. There has been a sea change in the entertainment industry, from the proliferation of streaming platforms to the recent explosion of generative AI, and at stake is the ability of our members to make a living. Duncan Crabtree, in a letter about the strike authorization, Duncan Crabtree, Ireland, the SAG-AFTRA National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator, said in a letter about the strike authorization referendum, "We must ensure that new developments in the entertainment industry are not used to devalue or disrespect the performers who bring productions to life." So that is apparently, those are the two main sticking points. Apparently, is that when you look at streaming, right? How things have traditionally worked with cable and all that stuff is that residuals are something when like an actor acts in a TV show and they get paid, right? They probably get paid some amount of money up front, but then on top of that paycheck, they receive residuals, which is like when something airs and it has commercials played on it and the show makes money, the actor will like receive a part of that residual of whatever money that thing makes. The problem with streaming is that there's not nearly as much residual. So, and residuals have been a large part of the economy and how these actors make their living. And so because they rely on those residuals in between jobs. So when you're like on a Netflix show, and sure, you get paid up front, and then you're on your butt trying to find more work, you don't get those residuals off of those shows, even if they're incredibly successful. You don't necessarily get as much money, and so that's been hurting a lot of actors. So that's part of it, and then there's AI. We've heard about like. I've heard about like the just wacky things like the producers wanting to have the ability to like scan background actors and own their likenesses forever and just be able to use their likenesses as like with AI until the end of time without having to pay those actors. It's wacky stuff like that, and so that's really the sticking point, is that, SAG is obviously trying to go, hey, no, we need to figure out the streaming thing, right? Because we literally can't afford to go on like this. And no, you cannot use our likenesses without compensating us properly. So yeah, we'll see. Is there really anything more that we need to read here? Okay, I guess I kind of explained it, but I guess I'll read it again so that it doesn't sound stupid. Among SAG-AFTRA's demands are increased minimum pay rates, increased streaming residuals, neither of which have kept up with inflation, and improved working conditions. Royalty payments, which are contingent on the number of a show's reruns, are no longer reliable. Streaming, which has shifted to shorter seasons over longer periods of time, has made less work available to actors. And union members want guarantees from studio and production companies about how exactly artificial intelligence will be used. They want to protect their likenesses and make sure they are well compensated when any of their work is used to train AI. So, yeah, kind of what I was saying earlier. Obviously, I don't think. Obviously, I side with the actors here. Um, but let me actually get into the next story here. So Bob Iger, right, CEO of Disney, he said some nonsense. So let's talk about that. So this is what Bob Iger had to say about the situation. Iger appeared on CNBC's Squawk Box and discussed the ongoing writers and the writer strike and the actor strike that was just initiated. He called it very disturbing, saying, "This is the worst time in the world to add to that disruption." He feels the industry is still dealing with COVID-19 recovery and thinks the unions are not being realistic about their pay demands. We've talked about disruptive forces on the businesses and all the challenges we're facing. The recovery from COVID, guys, COVID is so bad, and we're still recovering from COVID. We can't pay our actors enough for them to have health care. That's not reasonable, guys. Which is ongoing. It's not completely back, Iger said. This is the worst time in the world to add to that disruption. This is absolutely ghoulish, just vile behavior. Like, can we just let's just take a second here. Bob Iger salary. Iger just signed a contract extension with Disney that raises his annual target pay from $27 million to $31 million. Hey, Bob. Hey, Bobbert. Oh yeah, your industry is really struggling, right? Have you ever considered taking a pay cut to help your company with their financial struggles? No. You're going to fire your 7,000 employees, right, to save money, right? You're going to take shows off of Disney Plus, right, to save money on them, right? Those actors that worked on that show are now no longer going to get residuals. The very few residuals that you would give them anyways, right? That they're not going to get any of that money, so that's how you're going to save money. But you're going to give yourself a raise. That's the reasonable thing, right? Right? What did he say? This is the worst time in the world to add to that disruption. Oh my gosh, COVID is so bad. I mean, how disgusting is it to try to like invoke COVID in this situation? It's like, bro, nobody timed the SAG and and WGA negotiations to time it with COVID. Like what the hell are you even talking about? Yeah, just absolutely ghoulish, vile behavior, and just these people are ghouls. By the way, when he made that quote, you know where he was at? He was at a retreat for like all the billionaires. There's like this weird billionaire retreat. So while but notice this. While like during the negotiations that were supposed to be taking place with SAG, all of the studio executives and all of these producers in the Producers Guild, they went on some stupid billionaire retreat instead of negotiating with SAG. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh, whoa, wait. Did I not pull up the quote? Hold on. I can't believe I forgot to include this in here. Hold on. SAG strike. Oh man. No. Is it gonna be here? Yes, this is it. Okay, this is actually disgusting behavior. Okay, so we'll like we're getting into the we're about to get to where it really got nasty. Okay, so this is an article from Deadline. Okay, so this is what Deadline reported originally. Sorry, we're doing this in real time. I think we're in for a long strike, and they're going to let it bleed out, said one industry veteran intimate with the POV of studio CEOs. Not Halloween precisely, but late October for sure is the intention. Said a top tier producer close to the Caro Lamborghini run AMPTP. It's been agreed to for months, even before the WGA went out. One executive said, "Nobody wanted a strike, but everyone knew this was make or break." And then here it is. The end game is to allow things to drag on until union members start losing their apartments and losing their homes. I'm going to read that again. The end game is to allow things to drag on until union members start losing their apartments and losing their homes. And then I did notice this, to be fair. It says up here, exclusive updated with AMPTP statement. Regardless of whether SAG-AFTRA goes on strike this week, the studios have no intention of sitting down, Oh, wait, hold on. I read this wrong initially. Yeah, it says here with an AMPTP statement. Regardless of whether SAG-AFTRA goes on strike this week, the studios have no intention of sitting down with the Writers Guild for several more months. I mean, there it is. There it is. Instead of trying to negotiate, the Producers Guild is just going to let writers and actors bleed out, lose their apartments, lose their homes, all because they want to be paid a living wage. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting and ghoulish behavior. Like I don't think I can be more clear and explicit about this. And by the way, before just to address some of the things that I've been seeing, I've seen a lot of people be like, "Oh, well, the writers' movies, I haven't liked a lot of recent movies, so these people don't deserve living wages." Hey, bro, first of all, I don't believe that you haven't liked any movies or TV shows that have come out recently, okay? Whatever TV show you like, it was written by WGA members. Whatever TV show you do like, it was performed by SAG members. So maybe instead of being a despicable subhuman piece of garbage, at least appeal to yourself there and empathize. I don't know, man. And I also understand that a lot of people, when they look at SAG, they're like, "Oh, well, I don't care about Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt. They're rich." And sure, you shouldn't care about Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt because you're right. Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt are going to be fine. But the vast majority of SAG members are not Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt. They are background actors, and they are people that are working they are working class people that are just trying to survive, right? And SAG at the moment is literally just trying to fight so that they can have living wages and they can have health care. Most actors are not Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt. So I do just want to say that as well. So, I mean, listen, I don't want to get into this too much because it's not really the purview of the show. I mean, don't get me wrong. It should be noted, literally everything is shutting down because of this. So it is technically the purview of this show, right? Deadpool 3 has shut down production. Literally any other nerdy movie that you can think of that's currently filming has also shut down production because SAG members are on strike. Also, by the way, Blue Beetle we were talking about earlier. That movie, the actors are actually not going to be able to promote that movie because with SAG on strike, that also means that you can't promote movies. So Blue Beetle is for sure going to bomb because it's not even going to have promotion, right? Joel Maridueña, who is a very charismatic actor, is not even going to be able to like do the talk show circuit. So that is unfortunate. But listen, at the end of the day, I think we already knew this, but the executives at Disney and Warner Brothers and all these people, they are ghouls, they are evil, and they are vile, and they are subhuman. But ain't nobody. That's not something that we didn't already know. So let's hope that that this doesn't turn out in their favor. I guess I don't even know what to say anymore. It's a sucky situation. This is a sucky situation. All right, let's move on to the next story. I guess we do have to talk about other comments that this subhuman piece of garbage had to say. Okay. During a chat with CNBC, Iger admitted Disney will pump the brakes a bit on making movies and TV series for its Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm franchises in an attempt to cut costs as well as bring a bit more focus to both entities. Iger said, "You pull back not just to focus, but also as part of our cost containment initiative, spending less on what we make and making less. This move comes as Disney has seen some costly misses lately at the box office from projects with massive budgets." Iger acknowledged some of those misses, but the CEO cited Marvel in particular because the brand began to pump up its original content theatrically and on streaming. The streaming move was to give boost to Disney Plus and garner more subscribers, but he believes this affected fan focus. Iger said, "Marvel is a great example of that. It had not been in the television business at any significant level, and not only did they increase their movie output, but they ended up making a number of TV series. Frankly, it diluted focus and attention." So, yeah, I don't think that this subhuman piece of garbage is wrong here. I do think that all of the amount of content that they made did. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't put the article up, but whatever. You listen to me read it. Whatever. Who cares? I don't care. Okay, I don't think it's wrong there because I do think that all of the content has made it difficult to keep up with all of it, quite frankly. But not only that, I do think that the amount of content that they've been trying to produce has resulted in lower quality shows. Instead of being able to put more care into fewer projects, right? Quality over quantity, they've had to do all of these shows that's made VFX significantly worse on all of these projects. I think Kevin Feige's quality control that the MCU is known for has been strained as well because Kevin Feige simply can't exert as much quality control over all of these movies and all of these TV shows. So, I mean, I don't think he's wrong here. I do think that, and I've said as much, I think the move is to make fewer movies and fewer Disney Plus shows. So, yeah, this subhuman piece of garbage is not wrong in this instance. All right, moving on. All right, next up, I'm going to talk some Last of Us Part 2 spoilers because Craig Mazin said some interesting comments about it. It's the last story of the day, so if you haven't played The Last of Us Part 2 and you don't want to spoil seasons 2 and 3 for yourself, then leave now because we're about to get into it. All right. Last of Us boss knows Season 2 will make some fans angry. Sorry, I'm dying over here. Okay, we'll start reading here. In an interview with EW, Mazin said, "Will there be fewer? Yeah, probably. I mean, there usually is, starting even with casting. Understanding the fan reaction is key here. Mazin is careful not to promise any specific plot points from the game in the show," he said. He said, "There are things that will shock people. I wonder what that thing could be. Things that were in the game, things that were not in the game. For Mazin, the focus is on purposeful storytelling and not simply creating shocks for social media attention." However, Mazin is prepared for controversy, particularly around casting decisions. He recalls, backlash when he cast Bella Ramsey. Did he say anything else? I could have sworn he said something else. Okay, well. Wait, I could have sworn I read something else when I originally read this. I could have sworn I read something here. Okay, I read somewhere that he confirmed that they were going to divide it up into 2 more seasons, but I don't see it here unless I'm blind. Either way, I do kind of just want to have a bit of a conversation about The Last of Us Part 2 and how they could possibly handle season 2. All right, so again, if you haven't played Part 2, leave now because I'm about to spoil it. Do they change up the story to allow Pedro Pascal to continue for longer than Joel did in the game? I think that's very much a sticking point here because while I love The Last of Us Part 2, I think it is my favorite game of all time. It's actually my favorite piece of media, narrative media of all time. I've never been as impacted by a story as I was with The Last of Us Part 2. So there's that, right? But it's also very controversial. The death of Joel is the last Jedi of of video games. You know what I mean? And the way that he gets killed, and then how you have to play as his killer for the second half of the game, it's very controversial. It's very divisive. I think it's brilliant, but there are a lot of people that don't. And do you go as hard in the show? For me, I think you do, only because the way it's executed and then what you have to do is kind of the point of The Last of Us Part 2, right? Seeing Joel being executed and having your heart ripped out of your chest and that genuine anger that you feel towards Abby, and then being forced to play as Abby and that frustration, and then slowly letting that anger subside and slowly understanding her point of view. You don't have to like her. You don't have to agree with her. You don't have to think that her killing Joel was justified. You just have to understand her, right? Sort of getting more exposed to Abby, and slowly by the end of the game, realizing that killing her just isn't worth it. Killing her isn't going to make anything better. Like the fact that game takes you from playing as Abby or as Ellie, seeing Joel get slaughtered, feeling genuine, at least for me, feeling genuine grief over a fictional character, feeling genuine anger, feeling genuine desire to hunt Abby down, to by the end of that game, you're begging Ellie to just let it go and stay with Dina. That is the most powerful journey I've ever been through in any piece of narrative media ever. It just is. And I feel like killing Joel at the like in the first episode of season 1, feeling that genuine anger, being there for Bella Ramsey as she goes on her revenge quest, and then eventually being forced to follow Abby's point of view and letting it drag on for a couple seasons if you must. And then by the end of the show, hopefully they've executed it properly and you're begging Bella Ramsey to not to not go after Abby. I feel like that's the point of the game, I feel like it's the point of it. The point of the game is that journey. And I like what he's saying here. I like that he's saying that he's going to upset people. So I we've talked about, do you change The Last of Us Part 2 significantly? I mean, sure, you can make a bunch of changes. That's fine. But that core concept, I feel like, is so essential to what The Last of Us Part 2 is and what it's about. So that's just my opinion. But either way, that's going to be it for Nerdy Movie News Roundup. July 15th, 2023. I said too many 20s. And yes, screw the AMPTP. Evil, vile, ghoulish, will burn in hell. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.